agreements, and what are the effect of anti-competitive agreements, and what are the exceptions to section 3(1) of the Competition Act. And today we will discuss the different kinds of anti-competitive agreements given under the Competition Act 2002. The Competition Act 2002 provides for two kinds of anti-competitive agreements. These are first the horizontal agreements and the second is the vertical agreement. Now the question is, what are these horizontal agreements and what are these vertical agreements? Now students, please listen carefully. Horizontal agreements, the agreements which are concluded between the persons or the enterprises carrying on the same kind of business. I'm repeating, if the agreement is concluded between the persons or the enterprises carrying on the same kind of business, then this is called the horizontal agreement. And now vertical agreements, if an agreement is concluded between the persons or the enterprises which are carrying on the different type of business, then this is the example of the vertical agreement. Now let us discuss this with the help of example. Now suppose an agreement is that is concluded between two companies A and B, and both are manufacturing the t-shirts. Can anybody tell me what kind of agreement is it? Yes, if there are the two companies and an agreement take place between these two companies and both are carrying on the same kind of business. Now, is it the example of vertical agreement or is it the example of the horizontal agreement?
Horizontal.
Ma'am, horizontal.
Please raise your hand for the answer. Ria, yes, beta?
Ma'am, it's in horizontal. Horizontal agreement.
Very good, Ria. Why you are saying that this is the example of the horizontal agreement?
Ma'am, because they're doing the same function, so essentially they're performing at the same level.
Wonderful. They are, because they are carrying on the same kind of business. So that's why we say that they are at the same level of the same production chain. Now the next example. Now suppose there are the two company A and B. Now these two company are entering into an agreement, and the company A is the t-shirt manufacturing company, and the company is the a cloth manufacturer company. Now if an agreement takes place between a t-shirt manufacturing company and a cloth manufacturing company, then it would be the example of horizontal agreement or vertical agreement. I'm waiting. Okay, Ria, yes, beta.
Ma'am, vertical, because t-shirts are a subset of clothes. So they're not a direct competitor.
Subset of the that is cloth. Very good. Now in a simple words. Now the agreement takes place between a t-shirt manufacturing company and the cloth provider. Now we cannot say that they are carrying on the same kind of business. They are at a different level of the production chain. So that's why this agreement is the example of the vertical agreement. I hope you all have understood that what is the difference between the horizontal agreements and the vertical agreements. Now today we will discuss in detail the horizontal agreements. Now the next question. Which part of the section 3 provides for the horizontal agreement? Now subsection 3 of section 3 provides for what? provides for the horizontal agreement. Now let us see what is provided under section 3.3 of the Competition Act. Now students, please listen carefully. Now the section 3.3 provides that any agreement between enterprises or association of enterprises or persons or association of a person or between any person or an enterprises. It means section 3.3 say that an agreement can be concluded between enterprise or the association of enterprise person or the association of persons or between an person and the enterprises, or the practice carried on or the decision taken by whom the association of the enterprises or the association of the person. It means section 3.3 covers which three things? First, the agreement. Second, the practice carried on. And the third is the decision taken by. Now, in the last class, we discussed that what is the agreement. And when we discussed that what is the agreement, then we discussed that this term agreements also includes the other terms, that is arrangement, understanding, and action in concerts. Now, besides the agreements, if any practice is carried on or any decision is taken by the association of the enterprises or the association of a person, and this agreement, practice carried on, and the decisions taken by the either enterprises or the association of enterprises or the persons or the association of a person. Now, what relationship should be between these persons and the enterprises? Now, this question is answered in the next part of the subsection 3, that engaged in the identical or the similar trades of goods or the provisions of services. So this subsection says that an agreement, any practice carried on or the decision taken by either between the persons or between the association or the enterprises which are carrying on the same kind of business. Now the question is, what would be the effect of this agreement, practice carried on, or the decision taken either by the persons or that is the association? Simply it is said that if this agreement takes place, if the practice is carried on, or if the decision taken by the person or an enterprises, now this agreement, this practice carried on, or the decision taken by should be related to these four circumstances which are given under subsection 3, and these four circumstances are: if the agreement is relating to the price fixing, if the agreement is relating to the limiting production, if the agreement is relating to the market sharing, and if the agreement is relating to the bid rigging between the persons or the enterprises carrying on the same kind of business. In that case, what would be the effect of such an agreement, such a practice carried on, or the decision taken? This is given here. The effect would be that it shall be presumed to have an appreciable adverse effect on the competition. It means if an agreement or the practice carried on or the decision taken is relating to the price fixing or limiting production, or that is the market sharing or the bid rigging between the enterprises or the persons carrying on the same kind of business, now such agreement is presumed to have an appreciable adverse effect. Means these agreements are presumed to be anti-competitive agreements. Now, if any of the circumstances given under section 3.2.3.3 is satisfied, it means that the anti-competitive horizontal agreement is entered into between the persons or the enterprises. And this rule, when it is presumed that such kind of agreements are anti-competitive, this is called the per se rule. It means in this case, if the allegation is made by one of the party against the other party that this person or the association of persons or the enterprises or the association of enterprises are entered into these means such kind of agreement, and the circumstances falls under given on any of the circumstance given under section 3.3, it means that is an anti-competitive agreement. Then the alleged party has to prove that no, the activity in which they are indulged, they are not anti-competitive agreement. This is the meaning of this phrase, that presumed to have an appreciable adverse effect, and this is called the per se rule. It means the alleged party has to prove that they are not indulging any anti-competitive, that is practice. Again, I am taking you back to the subsection 3, and it subsection 3, the first paragraph also mentioned a term, that is the cartels. Now cartels are the example of the horizontal agreements. Now what are, when the cartels enters into any kind of agreement, that agreements are called as the horizontal agreements. Now what are the cartels? We will discuss later on, because there are the certain terms in section 3.3 which requires explanation, that I'll discuss later on. But before that, I want to focus on these 4 circumstances which is given under section 3.3. These are those circumstances if an agreement is related to any of these 4 activity, it means that agreement is anti-competitive. The first one is the price fixing, that if an agreement or the practice carried on or the decision taken by it determines the price, that is the sale price of the goods or the provisions of services, it means that is an anti-competitive agreement. That is an anti-competitive agreement means it is presumed that it is going to eliminate or reduce or affect the competition within India. If an agreement is either limiting or controlling either the production or supply or the technical development or investment or any provisions of the services, it means that agreement is the anti-competitive agreements. Now if the agreements provides for the either sharing of the market or the source of production. Now how this sharing can be done? This sharing can be done on the basis of the geographical area of the market or the types of goods. Now what does it mean? Now suppose there are 2 companies A and B, and these 2 companies are that is the t-shirt manufacturing company. Now what is decided between this company? That one company would sell its t-shirts in the northern part of India, and the company B would sell its t-shirts in the southern part of the India. Now in this case there is a sharing of market, and the sharing of market, what is the basis of the sharing of market? That is geographical area of the market, that the area has been, that is divided between by these 2 companies between themselves, and this is called as the sharing of the market. If such agreement takes place, this agreement is presumed to be an anti-competitive agreement. Now, next example on the basis of the types of goods. Now, company A say, okay, I will manufacture t-shirt. Company B say, okay, I will manufacture, that is the shirts. Now, in this case, the market is shared on the basis of the type of goods. If such kind of agreement is entered into, this amounts to the market sharing, and if the agreement is relating to the market sharing, then it is presumed to be anti-competitive agreements. Now, the next is the bid rigging. And if an agreement is relating to the bid rigging or the collusive bidding, the two terms are used. In that case, that agreement presumes to be anti-competitive agreement. Now, the next question that might be arising in your mind, that bid rigging means auction. No, students, here the bids does not means the auctions. Here the bids rigging term is relating to the submitting of tender. Now, what is the bid rigging? When an agreement takes place, that is between the parties, that they will not compete in submitting the tenders. Now, that is called the bid rigging. Such kind of agreement is also presumed to be anti-competitive. That is the agreement. Now, the term bid rigging is also defined under section 3.3 as an explanation, that it says that bid rigging means any agreements between the enterprises or the persons who are engaged in the identical or the similar production of the trading of goods or the provisions of services, and if they had the effect of eliminating or either reducing competition or manipulate the process of the bidding, so that is called the bid rigging. So if any agreement is entered into between the parties here means the enterprises or the persons which are carrying on the same kinds of business, in that case that would amounts to the bid rigging. So, therefore, the bid rigging means when two or more competitors agrees that they will not compete with each other for a particular tenders. Now, this is called the bid rigging. So, therefore, if an agreement is relating to any of these four circumstances, then it amounts to anti-competitive agreement. We say that in these circumstances, it is presumed that yes, these are anti-competitive agreements, and the effect we have just discussed, that they are presumed to be anti-competitive agreements. Now, before moving to these case laws, I want to discuss certain terms which have been used in this section 3.3. The practice term which is given under section 2M, it says any practice which is relating to carrying on of any trade and cartels. Now, the section 3.3 specifically mentioned including cartel, means an association. If that association is the cartel, and if these are entering into any agreement relating to either price fixing, market sharing, limiting production, and the bid rigging, then these are presumed to be anti-competitive. Now let us see what is meant by this cartel. Now the section 2C says that cartel is an association. Now this association can be of a producer or a seller or a distributor or traders or a service provided, and if these associations enter into an agreement and that agreement is relating to either limiting or controlling the production or distribution or the sale or the price of either goods or the provision of services, then that association would be termed as a cartel. It means association can be called as a cartel if these associations satisfy the two ingredients. First, that this association is of only producers, sellers, distributor, traders, or the service provider. And second, and if this association enter into an agreement, that agreement must relates to the limiting or controlling either the production, distribution, sale, price, or the trade in goods or the provisions of the services. Now the last thing which is given under section 3.3, that is the exception. Yesterday as we discussed that the section 3 has exception which is given under section 3.5. Similarly, subsection 3 of section 3 has the exception. It means in a particular case, in this case, the section 3 would not be applicable. I hope I am audible. I hope I'm audible, or there was some. Sorry, beta.
You're audible. You're audible.
Okay, beta. Thanks, Bachi. Where are we? We are on the exception part. Similarly, exception is given under subsection 3.3. Now, in this section, what is said that in this particular case, if an agreement is entered into and that agreement, even if it might be anti-competitive, the section 3.3 would not be applicable. Now, let us see what is that case in which subsection 3.3 would not be applicable. Now the exception is, suppose an agreement is entered into by way of a joint ventures, and this agreement, if increases the efficiency in the production, supply, distribution, storage, acquisition, or the control of goods or the provisions of the services, in that case subsection 3.3 would not be applicable on such kind of agreements which are entered into by way of joint ventures, and the agreement if the agreement increases efficiency either in production, supply, distribution, or storage, or acquisition, or the control of goods or the provisions of services. This is all about which is given in section 3.3. Yes, students, any question or doubt? Okay, if no question or doubt, then I am moving to the examples of the horizontal agreement. Now, we will discuss two CCI rulings and the two Supreme Court rulings. First, the Supreme Court ruling. The name of the case is Rajasthan Cylinders and the Container Limited versus Union of India. Now listen carefully, students, that what happened in this case. In this case, a complaint was filed by Pankaj Gas Cylinder against the Indian Oil Corporation. Now, why the complaint was made? The complaint was made because it was alleged that the Indian Oil Corporation has imposed unfair condition in the tender floated by it. Now, the own investigation, the DG observed that yes, there is the strong indication that an anti-competitive agreement has been taken place between this bidder. Now, how the anti-competitive agreements can be taken place, these bidders, that is by the there they are entering into bid rigging. So there are the strong evidences that the bid rigging has been taken between the, that is the seller of this cylinder. Now CCI orders the investigation, and why after investigation the CCI held that yes, that these cylinder providers are, that is, guilty of the collusive bidding. So that's why the appeal is made to the appellate authority, and the appellate authority held yes, that these suppliers are, that is, guilty of the anti-competitive agreement, that is the bid rigging, but reduce the penalties. So that's why an appeal is made to the Supreme Court. Now first appeal is made by the supplier, that yes, against the decision given by the NCLT, and CCI also joined the appeal. Why? Because the penalty was reduced by the, that is, the appellate authority. Now in this case, the question before the court was whether this is the case of the that is the bid rigging. Now in this case, the Supreme Court held that no, there is no collusive bidding between the supplier of the cylinders. Now what was the reason behind it? Now the CCI concluded that all these suppliers had a meeting, and after the meeting they have submitted their tender, and in the tender they all have, that is, submitted almost the same price. Now as almost the same price is quoted by everyone, so that's why they are guilty over, that is, the bid rigging. But in this case the Honorable Court observed, now this is that is, the cylinder market is the example of the oligopolistic market. It means there are very few buyer and very few, in this case there are very few buyer of this gas cylinder, and if anyone has to survive in the market, in that case the every company has to aware themselves about the other company's strategies, so that they could quote the lowest price and could survive in the market by getting some tenders. So that's why now in this case on which basis the supplier were held liable, that on the basis of parallel behavior. Parallel behavior means, that is, they have decided that they will quote the same price, and the same is done by all the suppliers. So it means this parallel behavior is the strong evidence that yes, that a decision has been taken by the supplier. But the court says no, because of the oligopolistic market, this is the compulsion for the supplier to quote this almost the same price so that they could survive in the market. Now the next example is also relating to bid rigging. Now in this case, there was 3 aluminum phosphor tablet producers and who are participated in bid rigging, and the Supreme Court held them guilty for that is the bid rigging. There is one more important thing which have been laid down in this case, and that is in this case the Honorable Court introduced the concept of the relevant turnover. Now what is the relevant turnover? That we know that the CCI can impose a penalty, and the penalty can be imposed on the basis of the total turnover of the company. But the court in this case held that the penalty is to be imposed not on the total turnover of company, but the penalty is to be imposed on the relevant turnover of the company. Now, what is this relevant turnover? Here, the relevant turnover means the turnover relating to the product in question. And now the next important example. The next important example is that this Builder Association of India versus Cement Manufacturer Associations. Now, the Builder Association of India files a complaint against the Cement Manufacturer Association that first they have a meeting, and in their meeting they have decided that they should limit the production of the cement, and when there was the shortage in the market, then the price of the cement was that is increased by that is this association. Now the on investigation, the CCI also decided the same, that this association has violated the provisions of the Competition Act first by limiting the production, and then by that is controlling the price of the goods, means by increasing the price of the goods. Now in this case, now the same conduct is observed by all the 11 cement manufacturers company in the association. Now the Cement Manufacturer Association was not happy with the decision, so the appeal was made in the appellate authority, and the appellate authority also decided the same. And then this Builder Association filed a case in the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court, that is state the order of the NCLT, and the asks this association to that is deposit 10% of the penalty amount. Now the next and the last example is the Vedanta Bioscience versus Chemist and Druggist Association of Baroda. Now I will discuss this case law in the next class. Whatever we have discussed, revise it. And in the last class, first we solve. I give you a problem based on this case law, and then you would be supposed to solve it, and then I move to the next part of the anti-competitive agreement, that is the vertical anti-competitive agreements. Yes, students, any question or any part which you have not understood, please. I'm waiting for your question or doubts. Okay, students, if no question and doubts, then it's attendance time.